Jeff Legg with Metal Temple, and I'm on the phone today with Vince, the lead singer from the heavy metal band Symetria, and they've got a new album coming out September 29th via Tripsquad Records. Good afternoon, Vince.
How you doing, Jeff?
I'm really good. You got a new album coming out, and I've listened to it over and over and over, and I really, really like it. But for me, it's old school, like I grew up on. And I've heard all kinds of people saying you guys sound like this and that and this and that, and I don't ever like to pigeonhole a band's sound. So I've heard thrash and new wave of British heavy metal. How do you describe it?
I mean, right off the bat, I just try to tell them, just straight up heavy metal. I mean, if you wanted to go one step further, it's definitely got a little bit of like a rock and roll vibe to it, a little bit of a groove in it. I've called it heavy metal rock and roll to people. And I've even had people tell me that to them it sounds like new metal for old metalheads, because it's got that old vibe in it. But as far as like any direct comparisons, I mean, we get them from all over the place. You've hit the nail on the head, and I've had people come up with some real obscure stuff. My mother said it sounded like Deep Purple. So, it's all over, man.
You can't argue with Mom.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So, I see you, when you started looking to put this band together, there was a Craigslist ad, is that correct? Were you and the guitar player connected, Kevin Cuss?
Yeah, I had moved back to Jersey from PA, and, kind of was settled in and getting the itch to start doing something again. And he had an ad up on Craigslist looking for a singer for a cover band, and they were covering Metallica and Anthrax and Maiden and Judas Priest and all that shit. So I went and checked it out, and he had told me initially that they had wanted to start writing music eventually, so that was kind of the impression I went into the project with, that it was going to turn into an original project once they had somebody in the right, lyrics and stuff. His drummer and bass player at the time just kind of didn't have any interest in doing it. So when I told him I was moving on, he said, "Fuck that, I'm with you."
Oh, so you guys split off and went on, and then you hired in bass player, drummer, another guitar player.
Yeah, we went and we found Fernando. Fernando actually was an old friend of Kev's that was moving back from California. We found the drummer Blair off a band mix, and I'm not 100% sure where Kevin found James, the other guitar player. Kevin found him and brought him in.
So when you went into this, was it like an all-in approach, man? We want to get a record deal. We want to tour maybe tour the world. Was it that type of deal, or was it, hey, let's get together and jam and just see where this goes?
Well, initially it was, as a musician, the dream is always to, get a record deal, tour the world, and, be able to do it for a living, not have to get up and go punch a clock somewhere from 9 to 5.
Trash hotel rooms and the whole deal, right?
Right. Well, maybe when I was, 22, 23 looking at it, I can honestly say when you were young watching like the old Pantera Vulgar video and shit like that, it was definitely you wanted to be the rock star, but now it's more of a just wanting it to be my job, wanting it to be our career and what we do for a living, and hoping that we can make enough out of it, not only to support that, but be able to turn around and give some back, whether it be through various charities, animal shelters, fundraisers, stuff like that. And if it happens to get really big and we can go to the extent of building houses for homeless people and shit like that, we'll do that too. I mean, we kind of look at it, or at least myself personally, if I'm blessed with the ability to make my living doing something I love and have the money to help other people enjoy their life more, I'm going to do that too.
Well, that's cool. That's good to hear you say charity work, stuff like that, instead of Lamborghinis, and that's really rare, and to hear guys speak about that. Of course, you guys are not, you're not fresh out of high school and trying to make a name for yourself and trying to find your way. So that's great to hear. And do you think it's being older and not a young?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly becomes a part of it. Blair and I both have many, many years experience with other bands. I've been doing it since high school. I know Blair's had extensive experience, done some, East Coast touring and stuff like that over the years. Kevin, he picked up the guitar at 19 years old. He played professional baseball for the Atlanta Braves, was drafted out of high school, played in the minors. It wasn't until he got cut from the Braves is when he really got serious playing metal and got into metal and playing guitar. So, we're talking, yeah, he was probably 20, 21 years old before he started playing metal guitar. And, so for him, it's, for me, I should say, to have somebody like him who picked the guitar up so late in life be able to play the way he does and write with me is incredible. But yeah, when we just were deciding what we wanted to do and how we wanted to go about it, Blair and I definitely drew off of our past experiences and sat down and was like, all right, well, here's the deal. Do we sit here and keep writing some music and just go start beating the heck out of the local scene, playing as often as we can and, trying to build a following the way we always have, or, do we put 7, 8 songs together and see if we can, get hooked up with somebody or just do it ourselves even and come out of the box with a full album and get some merch set up right away and, be ready to go and at least look the part and look like we know what we're doing before we start really trying to push this thing.
For only being together for a year, I mean, you guys have really gained a lot of notoriety. A lot of stuff started to happen in a pretty short period of time. That's pretty encouraging for you that people are accepting, the songs you guys have written and your potential to do what you just said as far as making a living doing what you love.
Yeah, one of the most encouraging things that I'm starting to see is as we've gotten some feedback coming back on the sound and stuff and some unbiased opinions. Anytime you're doing something like this and you're pulling those old school influences in and throwing that little bit of a retro flair, somewhere in the back of your mind you get that kind of worry lingering around that somebody's going to come along and tag you as a rip-off artist or something. But then we haven't had that. In fact, our sound seems to be so versatile that it's almost, it's almost coming off as it's being welcomed by people, that they really are enjoying how we can, what we're doing and how we have so many different feelings throughout the album as you listen to it.
Well, do you get the sense that, because I'm starting to see this, because I'd listened to everything working for the magazine, but it seems like each subgenre, everybody's going back to old school sounds. There's this whole Zeppelin vibe, these young kids coming up that are singing Zeppelin. I mean, and it seems like it's happening that way in all the subgenres of rock and roll. People are fed up with the screaming. And
in fact, I think that's a huge part of what it, you take the, I know which band you're talking about. They have a very, very Zeppelin-ish sound to them. And there are a bunch of really young kids, and they're doing, they're not even old enough to know who Zeppelin was. And they're doing some incredible stuff. And it's great. It's very refreshing to see and hear that from across the board. And it's encouraging for us with what we're doing to see. And I don't think it's just in music. You sit back and you look at the whole world right now. You got TV shows coming back on the air after being off for 20 years. You got, movies that are getting remade because the junk that people are coming up with fresh ideas for today and stuff. It's just almost like in some ways the resources are tapped out. So people are looking to go back and take and improve on what was already successful in the past. And then when I think about what we really did, we just jumped in and wrote what we felt like writing. So the fact that all those little influences trickled in is more like an homage and a testament to those roots of ours than it is any kind of a purposefully done influence. I think it's just the time. I think it's time for some of these subgenres to disappear and things just kind of get blanketed again with, just heavy metal. It doesn't need to be 25 to 30 different types of heavy metal out there. Whatever happened to just a handful of you had heavy metal, and you had death metal, because death metal is way heavier than heavy metal and shit like that,
Yeah,
it's gotten out of control.
I agree with you 100%. And when people ask me, well, what does this sound like? I said, don't just turn it on and listen to it.
Yeah,
don't try to prejudge what.
Yeah.
And what you said about Greta Van Fleet, they sound that neat. That's what I thought when I heard your album. I thought, man, these guys sound like what I've been begging people to start playing, and it's. I mean, you can tell you guys aren't making this up. This is what, like you said, all your influences are coming out, and it sounds real.
It's what we want to hear right now, and nobody's making it, so we figured we should go out and make it. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. I mean,
well, I give you props for that. So you guys have the honor of being the first band signed to Tripsquad, and I don't know if people know, but it's guitarist, MOD's guitarist Tim McMurtry. How did you get? Did he discover you? Did you guys know him? How did that get started?
I've known Tim for a number of years personally. I worked with him some and played for him some with a prior project I had when I lived in PA for a few. I was out there for like 15 years, or something like that. So when we decided, okay, we're going to record. We're not just going to start to list out shows and playing shows and stuff like that. Let's get serious. Let's record. Let's get this music tight. Let's get it to where, we could go 2 weeks and come together, put a set list together, and get through it and have it tight and ready to go. Let's get to where we know our material like you're supposed to. And I called Tim and was just asking him about advice versus, we had the discussion about releasing a 4 or 5 song EP versus going full length and doing a whole album. And I knew that he had just gone through that with his band, Full Scale Riot, where they had released an EP, and then a year and a half or so later, they got picked up and ended up going and, re-recording all the songs on the EP for a new album and stuff. And he, through that conversation, he turns to me and he goes, well, I'm starting a record label, right? He says, for what you would pay to go do an EP somewhere else, we can, sit down and talk about getting a full-length album out for you guys. And that's how that came to be.
Had you been writing music already, or... Because I understand you recorded the album in a pretty short amount of time. Was it songs that you had already written, or was there a writing session knowing that you were going to go in and create an album?
No, it was songs that we'd already written. I believe 6 of the 8 were done. The 7th was in the process, and the 8th we had some pieces together when we decided we were going to go and record. So from when we actually booked studio time to when we started recording, we had about 6 weeks or so to tighten everything up, finish up the last couple, and start editing them down to what they were going to be actually laid down as.
I'm pretty sure you've already been playing a lot of this live in front of people. What's some of the crowd favorites you got? I mean, is there any particular song that people go nuts over?
Right now, we get the Awakening. Well, we open the show with Awakening right in the Flying Scene, so it's just the same order, or right in the Flying High, excuse me.
Yeah.
So it's just the same order it is on the album, the first 2 songs, and we don't even stop between them. It's a 4 count in the outro, Awakening, and we hand it down right in the Flying High. And by the time we wrap up Flying High, we usually got a pretty good roar coming out of it. Just those 2 songs together are just a high, it's 10 minutes of nothing but high energy. I'm very active on stage. The other guys all move around pretty good. It's a show. There's a lot more to it than just 5 guys making music when you see us play. And it sucks people in, and they definitely responded to it very well. We played a little old place down in New Hope called John and Peter's, which is insane. It goes back to the 60s. Hendrix played there and stuff like that. And we got done playing those first 2 songs back to back, and there was this guy, and we thought he was going to have a heart attack. It was beyond cheering and clapping. He was carrying on like that was the greatest thing he'd ever heard in his life. And he was screaming out things like, hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Where are you guys been? I can't believe I just saw that, and stuff like that.
It's bad.
Every time we play, Yeah, and every time we played, we get, at least one or two people that really feel that energetic about what we've been doing and what we're doing. The last time we played out was Monday night. We did a show, and we did an interview and play show for a local station in Allentown, and we got all done, and this gentleman come up to me, and he'd been there the whole time. He came up to me, and, he had a very straightforward look on his face, kind of didn't really know what to expect out of him, and he shook my hand, and he says, I don't care for what you guys do, but you did it very well, and I enjoyed sitting here watching it. So even in that respect, and we're not only getting people that are, pumped up and energetic and really loving what we're doing, but we're getting people that don't like what we're doing, but we're still getting compliments on how well we're doing it and that, it was entertaining for them to be around, even though it wasn't their particular favorite genre of music.
Well, I think people can detect, genuine, authentic musicians, instead of guys that are up there teasing their hair up and trying to look good, So speaking
right.
of the song "Flying High," I understand that's a pretty personal song to the band. What's the story on that?
That's actually a personal song to Kevin. That was the first song he ever wrote, and that was the result of him dealing with addiction issues and stuff, and getting himself clean and sober. And that was a song that he had wrote after that to reflect on that period in his life. So when he presented it to me, it was in a very rough form. Excuse me. And he had, told me that the song was Flying High, called Flying High, told me what it was about. And he, hummed a couple bars, the lyrics he had for it, but I never even saw or heard his lyrics. And, I sat down with the song, and I'm like, all right, I personally never dealt with an addiction issue other than quitting smoking, which was no easy feat, don't get me wrong, but nothing like, any kind of drugs or alcoholism or anything.
Sure.
But I've struggled my whole life with, manic depression and being, on a borderline bipolar and stuff like that. So, I definitely know what it's like to deal with things internally. And, like I do with most of our songs or most of my writing as a whole, because I've been writing since high school, I like to start with the chorus. I like to try to piece together, a nice, catchy, energetic, hooky chorus and then build the rest of the story around it. And that one, Kevin and I clicked pretty good when we first met and started working together. So I wasn't really nervous about presenting it to him. I was actually quite proud. So I remember the first practice where I had the lyrics for it. We went through it, and after I got all done with it, he was like, dude, you nailed it. I mean, your lyrics are awesome. It was perfect. And we've just always had that kind of connection.
That's a cool story. Well, that's good. You got me kind of all teary-eyed here now. I'm going to back off of that. So surely the song Stomp has to have the mosh pit going. I mean, that thing is just, if you can't get up and start stomping to that's a good one.
This is the Stomp Revolution Stomp. This is the Stomp Revolution Stomp. This is the Stomp Revolution Stomp.
That one was born from the drummer Blair. We were sitting in practice one day, and he kind of like, guys, just let me do this and humor me a little bit. And he started beating the drums, and Fernando started thumping the bass, and then all of a sudden, Kev came in with the guitar. I was like, wow, this is groovy. It's heavy, it's powerful, it's, thumpy, it's everything that, like you said, that's something that's going to start the pit up.
It's infectious.
And it just had this, like, rebellious attitude. So that's where, obviously, the lyrics came from. Because, it's just been too screwed up for too long all across the world. And it's time to say enough's enough.
Yeah, time to stomp.
You got it, man.
So how do you think that the youth, I mean, guys like me and, not older, but you know what I mean. You got these 18 to 25-year-old kids. How will you market that?
To be honest, I look at it like you got more kids in high school wearing AC/DC and Guns N' Roses and stuff like that, Aerosmith T-shirts and shit, now than we did when I was in high school. You know, you got a whole crew of younger people out there in their late teens and in their 20s that are going and seeing Guns N' Roses right now with their parents and their grandparents. But seeing grandparents who were my parents that hated heavy metal when we were kids. You know, my mother thought Guns N' Roses was the devil and Ozzy was, you know, Satan, and Metallica was horrible. How could you listen to that garbage? Now it's on the classic rock station, and my father's turning up Motley Crue when it comes on the radio. So you take that, and you step back and you look at a situation here where you got 3 generations of people in a family going to see these concerts, and these artists, you know, not for nothing, they're not getting any younger. I mean, these guys are out there in their late, you know, in their 60s and starting to push 70, and they're kicking ass and playing heavy metal on stage. Well, you know, not for nothing, 10 years from now, the odds of them still being there are very slim. And there's going to be a huge hole, generationally speaking. You're going to have 30 to 40 years worth of fans looking for something to turn to, and that's what I want Symetria to be.
So who do you listen to now?
For me, I mean, you know, I'm a thrash kid, always have been. Overkill's always within hand's reach, ending up in the CD player in the car. You know, and there's Testament, Slayer, Carcass, Death. You know, those are my go-tos. But to be totally honest, a lot of it's mood for me, because you can get in my car one day and I'll have, you know, Haunting the Chapel cranked up, listening to some old school Slayer. And then we'll get in the car after lunch and I'll just be in a Jimmy Buffett mood, and all of a sudden my brain goes on, because that's just how I am. So it's I'm all over the place with music, whatever I feel like listening to at the time. Right now I listen to RCD a lot.
Yeah, that's good. I do too. I've been listening to it for a week. Your album officially drops on the 29th, and then the 30th, you guys get to, I guess you could call it your CD release party, and you're opening for Overkill and Crowbar and Havoc. So what was that phone call like when you got that and said, hey, you want to open on that show?
Yeah, actually, that was a little more than just a phone call story. The venue on Center Square in Easton has only been open for a few months, and I've just been kind of seeing who was going in there. And they had Mushroom Head in, and they had Saliva in, and I saw the Overkill show got announced. No, I'm sorry, I lied to you. The Overkill show hadn't even been announced yet. And I'd emailed the venue through their Facebook page, and it was, hey, I have a band. I gave them a quick bio of the band and sent them a couple songs to listen to and stuff. And I didn't lie to you. The show had been announced already. I'm sorry. That's what prompted me to email them. It was like, oh, wow, they're going to start getting shows like this through. We should get hooked up with them. So the email I got back from the venue was, hey, it's Tom Taylor. Give me a call. And, like, right away it clicked in my mind. I was like, shit, I've known this guy for 10 years. I've worked with him back when I still had cover bands before I was even writing original music. So I called him up right away, came into a 20-minute, half-hour conversation. How's everything going, this, that, where you been, how's life been? And he goes, well, here's the deal. I got Overkill coming through. I'm allowed one local on the show. It's this many tickets if you want it, and all you got to do is say yes. So, of course, I said yes. I was like, I didn't even need to ask the guys about that one. If we're going to be the only local opener, and it's their first time in Allentown in 13-some years, yeah, I'm taking the show without a problem. So that was about as quick as that came together. Being a Jersey kid, I mean, and being a thrash kid, you know, I've seen Overkill probably a dozen times. I used to go see him at the old Birch Hill, and they used to rent the old basement shows, you know, down in fire company halls or the basements of VFWs and shit like that in the area. And there was a huge underground scene when I was a teenager. So yeah, I mean, for me, that's huge. It's playing with one of my idols. Bobby was the first guy that when I first heard him sing, I knew I had to sing.
That's a great story. So you're going to have to try to contain yourself now backstage.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
So after that, what's the touring schedule like? Have you got stuff lined up? through the end of the year?
Yeah, we are, after that show, we're playing every other weekend right up through mid-November. That's as far as we're booked out right now. And it's all, fairly local stuff to us. Everything's been an hour or so. Starting to make some contacts and getting set up. So I don't know if anything is going to happen too much with the rest of this year, but I know going into next year, our plan is to be set up to start getting out and doing like mini tours for 3-4 days, long weekends in a different directions. Because we're just in a sweet spot. We're in Central Jersey. I'm an hour out of New York City. 4 hours, I'm all the way out Long Island. I can be in Boston, Buffalo, Syracuse, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Pittsburgh, and just keep the super circle all the way around Baltimore, Maryland, down into Delaware. There's so much ground we could cover from where we're located on a weekend. It's amazing. So that's the next step, is to start getting it out to more people. Hey, we'll go anywhere. I mean, I'll be on a plane to Watkins Fest next year if the dates allow.
That's good. So, big question, I'll let you go. What does the wife and kids think about you hitting the road touring? Is it something that, and I know you guys have jobs right now, is it something that you're putting aside to concentrate fully on music, or is it something you're going to have to schedule your music around your personal lives?
At this point, we're still scheduling it around our personal lives as far as the jobs go. Family-wise, I mean, everybody's got families. We've all got, situations, but everybody's been through a similar situation before. Like I said, Kevin, played minor league baseball. He knows what it's like to live on the road and, stinky, sweaty buses and motel rooms and all shit like that. I was an industrial millwright for 12 years, did a lot of traveling all over the country, worked 70 to 80 hours a week for many, many years.
So you can make it work.
Yeah, and we're all in situations like that. Every single one of us, our day jobs or past jobs have had us away from home, away from our families and on the road, and we've made it work for work. So, of course, we're going to make it work to be musicians. We just need the opportunity.
Well, I'll promote the hell out of it, and we'll get it down here in the Midwest going. So,
I'd love to be rocking Oklahoma City for you next year, man.
Oh yeah. So where do you see this band in 5 years? You see it headlining the world?
Actually, I had posted on Facebook a few days ago that, because you got to keep dreams and goals separate, and you got to be realistic. We're in 2017 now. I think a very realistic goal for us is to be doing something along a North America tour around 2020, and 5 to 6 years from now, we'll also be doing a world tour. I think we'll definitely have the timing by then to be at that level, and hopefully we get the embracement from the fans to get us to that level. Well, that's it. The dream is to do it, or the goal is to do it for a living. The dream is to rule the world. And, if it falls somewhere in between, that's just as great.
Okay, well, keep doing what you do, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, man.
All right, see you.
Bye-bye.
The seven deadly sins were